Hi friends, I'm Kat. Welcome to my channel and today's video where we're going to be going over a bunch of new releases that are coming out in June. We've started doing this every month and I'm loving it. Really helps me keep accountable for what books I'm interested in, remind myself to kind of actually go check them out. And yeah, I like to keep on top of some of the books that are out. So welcome to the channel. If you haven't already, I would love if you consider subscribing. We talk about all types of books here, but primarily fantasy, sci-fi, and romantasy. And today we just have, I think 10-ish books that are coming out in June that I am really excited to get to and just really sound incredibly interesting. So let's honestly just dive in and start talking about these. So these will be in no particular order either. I do not have them ordered by release date, which I'm sorry about, and also not ordered by excitement. They're all I'm excited about. But we will start with Sounds Like Love by Ashley Poston, and I do have all the info here, so I'm going to be talking a little bit about this. She's written 3 other books that I've read. I've enjoyed 2 of them. The most recent one last year, which was a novel love story. I hated it, but I have enjoyed quite a few of her other books. So this one is said to be a hit-making songwriter and a bitter musician share a startling and inexplicable connection that they'll do anything to shape. So Joni has a secret. She's one of the most coveted songwriters in LA, and yet she can't write. There's an emptiness inside her and nothing seems to fill it. When she returns to her hometown of North Carolina, she hopes that the sand, the surf, and the concerts at the Revelry, her family's music venue, will spark inspiration. But when Joni gets there, nothing is how she left it. Her best friend is hiding something, her mother's memories are fading fast, and the Revelry is closing. Now, how can Joni write when her world is leaving her behind? Until she hears a melody in her head, lyricless and warm, and an alluring and addictive voice to go with, belonging apparently to a rhyme musician with an emptiness of his own. Surely he's a figment of Joni's overworked imagination. Then a very real man shows up in this town. He's arrogant and guarded, nothing like the sweet, funny voice in her head, and he has a plan for breaking their inconvenient telepathic connection. Finish the song, haunting them both, and hope they don't risk their hearts or their secrets in the process. Okay, so interested to see how it turns out. She does this magical realism kind of thing, or kind of interweaving some type of fantasy into her books that I do find really entertaining, and for the most part have worked pretty well. Next up is Bury Our Bones in the Midnight Soil by V.E. Schwab. This is her most recent release. Again, another author that I really enjoy, and this one is a genre-defying novel about immortality, and I think this is her vampire, if I'm not mistaken. It's a story about life, how it ends, and how it starts. So it seems like we're following 3 different timelines: 1953, 1827, and so I don't really want to go too much into looking at what this is about. I think it's vampires, and I'm really excited either way. There's the Fellowship of Librarians and Dragons by J. Penner. I think this is supposed to be a cozy fantasy. It's book 2 in a series, and I have read the first one, which is A Fellowship of Shakers and Magic, and I thought it was a really cozy kind of silly book, which I really just go into cozy fantasies with that kind of vibe of just expecting something ridiculous, and it works usually for me. And in this one we have people-pleasing sunshine dwarf Dolly. She's content with her simple tea magic and circle of friends. It's true that she might have once wanted more for herself, and that she's never quite lived up to her family's expectations, but her life is just fine. That is until she inherits a dragon egg. As Dolly grapples with her newfound responsibilities, she turns to gargoyle librarian Sarson, an expert in dragon lore. The more time she spends in his library, the more she finds herself falling for the newcomer. But dealing with her overbearing family, stopping a sinister plan she's uncovered, and handling a dragon that refuses to stay out of trouble means her hands are already full. Still determined not to let anything stand in her way, Dolly embarks on an adventure with the help of her loyal friends and newfound love, revealing that embracing her true self is the most enchanting path of all. Again, a very common cozy fantasy thing is finding yourself and finding happiness. And unless I'm mistaken, I do believe that I read book 1 of this with my book club with my friends, and I did enjoy it. It was very relaxing, if I am remembering correctly, so that makes me excited to get to this one. The God and the Guisen, I hope I'm saying that right, by Sophie Kim. Sequel to a book that I read last year, really enjoyed. That was called The God and the Gumaho. It was kind of an urban fantasy romantasy book. Really good. This cover is stunning also, but it's a trickster god must work with his reincarnated lost love to solve his brother's murder on board a luxury underworld cruise ship. So I'm not going to get too much into the plot of this one because I don't want to spoil the first. But the first one was basically a trickster god and I guess she was a Gumaho, I think that's what it's called, but she was a trickster spirit kind of too, and they had to get together to solve a mystery. I might need to reread the first because I do think it ended the ending was something kind of weird and I remember thinking that the story was done, but I am excited to see there's a sequel. And yeah, I do think I need to reread the first one just to kind of really get re-immersed in this. The Listeners by Maggie Stiefvater. I cannot remember the last time she came out with a book, but I'm very excited to see it. This one it's January 1942. There's written the Avalon Hotel and Spa spa, which has always offered elegant luxury in the wilds of West Virginia, its mountain Sweetwater washing away the high society's troubles. Local girl turned general manager June has guided the Avalon skillfully through the first pangs of war. The Guilfoyles, the hotel's aristocratic owners, have trained her well, but when the family heir makes a secret deal with the State Department to fill the hotel with captured Axis diplomats, June must persuade her staff, many of whom have sons and husbands, heading to the front lines to offer luxury to Nazis with a smile. Meanwhile, FBI agent Tucker Minnick, whose cold tattoo hints at an Appalachian past, presses his ears to the hotel's walls, listening for the diplomat's secrets. He has one of his own, which is how he knows that June's balancing act can have dangerous consequences. The Sweetwater beneath the hotel can threaten as well as heal. June has never met a guest she couldn't delight, but the diplomats are different. Without firing a single shot, they have brought the war directly to her. As clashing loyalties crack the Avalon's polished veneer, June must calculate the true cost of luxury. Yeah, I'm very much not a historical girly, so I don't know. Okay, I was going to talk about Shroud by Adrian Tchaikovsky, but apparently that came out in April. I don't know why it's on my list, so cross that one off and go to the next. Next up, I have A Song of Legends Lost by MHAND. This is an unforgettable tale of revenge and rebellion unfolds when a reckless king implements an ill-fated plan to end a 1,000-year war in this relentlessly gripping epic fantasy debut. Epic fantasy, fantastic. For some reason, I thought this was romantasy, so I'm even happier to see it is fantasy. We haven't had a lot of those recently. The people of the Nine Lands know their history. The kingdom once belonged to the Scifi people until their grey-blood servants rose up and slaughtered them. King Ahiki and his warlords laid claim to the realm by defeating the rebels and driving them out to the Feverlands. Now, thousands of years later, attacks by the Greybloods are rebuffed by the Invoker clans, warriors of noble blood who summon their ancestors to fight with them in battle. But the war has gone on for too long. A general draft is called to take the Battle of Feverlands and defeat the Greybloods once and for all, a plan that seems doomed to fail. When Tumi, a commoner, accidentally invokes a power spirit, she believes it could be the key to ending the centuries-long war. But not everything that can be evoked is an ancestor, and some of the spirits that can be drawn from the ancestral realm are more dangerous than anyone can imagine. Okay, interested, excited, love some fantasy. A Forgery of Fate by Elizabeth Lim, love to see a new book. And this one is a breathtaking romantic fantasy inspired by Beauty and the Beast about a girl who paints the future and a cursed dragon lord bound by love and deception in a plot to bring down the gods. Again, this cover looks beautiful. I feel like all ours are. Trigan didn't choose to become a con artist, but after her father is lost at sea, it's up to her to serve her mother and two young sisters. A gifted art forger, she has the ability to paint the future, but even such magic is not enough to put her family back together again, or stave off the gangsters demanding payment in blood for her mother's gambling debt. Left with a few options, she agrees to a marriage contract with a mysterious dragon lord. He offers a fresh start for her mother and sisters and elusive answers about her father's disappearance, but in exchange she must join him in his desolate undersea bliss, and she must assist him to infiltrate the tyrannical dragon king's inner circle, painting a future so treasonous it could upend both the mortal and immortal realms. So this one is YA, and I have a feeling it must be connected to her six Crimson Cranes series. Because that one involves a lot of dragons underwater and stuff like that. I have a feeling they are related books, but that one sounds really, really good. I have loved pretty much everything I've read from her, so really excited to see another book coming out. The Witch Roads by Elliot. Someone I've never read anything from, but I've heard very goodness. And again, this cover, it's fantasy, it's giving a really old 90s fantasy type of cover, which is something that I'm always missing. And I love these just this style of cover in fantasy books. And this one is book 1 in the Witch Roads duology. And in it, when an arrogant prince and his equally arrogant entourage get stuck in or letter halt as part of a brutal political intrigue, competent and sunny deputy courier Ellen, once a child slave meant to shield noblemen from poisonous Bull, is assigned to guide him through the hills to reach his destination. When she warns him not to enter the haunted spires, the prince doesn't heed her advice, and the man who emerges from the towers isn't the same man who entered. The journey that follows is fraught with danger. Can a group taught to ignore and despise the lower classes survive with a mere deputy courier as their guide? Doesn't give a lot. The description is very, very vague, but I am curious, and I do think that this could be interesting. So yeah, definitely going to try and check that out. And I've heard a lot, like I was saying, about, I think it's The Keeper's 6. I think that's the one that I heard fantastic things, and I've just never gotten around to reading, but would be very interested in. Atmosphere by Taylor Jenkins Reid. I think it's been a few years again since she had something come out. Unless I'm wrong, I think, what was the last one? Carrie Soto's Back was that? It's a few years, but this is a new novel sent against the backdrop of the 1980s space shuttle program about the extraordinary lengths we go to live and love beyond our limits. romance. And that's kind of all I want to read about it. But basically just it is about the space program. And I don't want to read too much more into this one just because I could be interested in going in not knowing very much. And yeah, I do tend to enjoy her books quite a bit. Next, We Live Here Now by Sarah Pinborough. And what has she written that I enjoyed? I've definitely read a few things from her. But this one is, Behind Her Eyes. Yes, that one was weird. So this is a gothic novel about a house and a marriage gone terribly wrong. So after an accident that nearly kills her, Emily and her husband Freddie move from London to a beautiful Dartmoor County house called Larking Lodge. The house is gorgeous, striking, and to Emily something about it feels deeply wrong. Old boards creak at night, fire goes out, and books fall from the shelf. And it all stems from the terrible presence she feels in the third floor room. But these things happen only when Emily's alone, so when are they happening at all? She's still medically fragile. Her post-sepsis condition can cause hallucinatory side effects, which means she can't really trust her own senses. Freddie doesn't notice anything odd and is happy with their fresh start. Emily, however, starts to believe the house is being haunted by someone who was murdered, and though she can find no evidence of a wrongful death, as bizarre events pile up and her marriage starts to crumble, Emily becomes obsessed with discovering the truth about Larkin Lodge. Okay, gothic horror, let's go. This will be wonderful. And then we just have one more to talk about, which is Caught Up by Nevessa Allen. This is I think it's going to be an intricate standalone in a series, so it's like the second book in the sequel / to Lights Out, which is a dark romance I really enjoyed this year. And I think it's just about the friend of one of these characters. So this is Nico and Lauren. I don't remember who they are in the first book, but in this it's saying she is sweetness and laughter, whereas Junior exists in a world of violence and depravity. Men like him don't get to have women like her. It's why he pushed her away back in high school and kept his distance ever since. Was he the main character's cousin maybe in the first one? I don't know. But when Junior looks Lauren up online, he discovers this shy, bookish girl he remembers is gone. In her place is a strikingly beautiful woman whose social media is filled with scantily clad pictures of herself and a connection to a nearby place. Junior's innocent curiosity turns into a dark obsession. Watching Lauren from a distance in an